I asked 40,000 people to tell me who they think will be the next Straw Hat, and the results are beyond my wildest imagination. Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and I don't actually have that wild of an imagination, so take that opening for what you will. And today we are here to once and for all, for now, determine who our next Straw Hat pirate is going to be. Now, as per usual, I've done videos like this before. In fact, everyone's done a video like this before. Even your mother has probably made a new Straw Hat video at some stage in her life. They're just that common. But I think we know the drill by now. I'm not interested in the opinions of one dude in one room. No, what makes this video very, very special is that we're going to examine the opinions of thousands of dudes in thousands of rooms. 40,017 to be precise, each of whom engaged in our delightful poll where they were given the task of ranking 10 different future crewmate options. Something important to note this time around is that I did not choose these 10 candidates myself. I opened up a community post and asked you guys who you think will join, and then I chose the top 10 responses. So in essence, I conducted a bit of a pre-survey survey. That's just how seriously we are taking the topic of fictional pirates on this channel here today and every other day. Also to be taken seriously is that this video is part of September, where for the entire month of September, every time someone subscribes to this channel, we will be donating 10 cents to Make-A-Wish Australia, a group who work to grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illness. And we've managed to raise a frankly amazing amount so far to make some wishes come true, and there's only a few days left, so let's keep the amazingness going for just a little bit longer. And there's also a link in the description for direct donations, and also please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the Grand Fleet. Welcome. But to commence the season of Next Top Straw Hat, our shameful bottom-dwelling last place cesspit swamp is filled with none other than Caribou. And this is where I thought to myself, you know what, this may have been a bit of a mistake letting people choose options for this poll, but they do get better, I think. Caribou is a good chance for a bit of a tutorial level though. So the way this poll works, like our previous installments, is via ranked choice. Meaning that, for example, if we had a poll featuring Caribou, Marimo, and Swamp Zoro, then the character you rank in first place would receive 3 points, second place 2 points, and third place a mere 1 pointo. We then repeat this process roughly 40,000 more times to give us an average score for each character, which denotes their, I suppose, their winningness. So the TLDR is that the closer a character score is to the number 10, the better they performed overall. Meaning that the word better can't really be applied to Caribou's average of 2.8 unless we're talking about better than absolutely nothing. Here's the thing though, Caribou is not on this list as a pure meme. In fact, I'd say that his reasoning is just about as solid as most theories for new Straw Hat members. Starting with the idea that he did actually intend to join the Straw Hats on Sabati. I mean, they were the fake Straw Hats at the time, but Caribou, he did not know that. He was all like, let me become your Nakama, you surprisingly fat Luffy. But then during Act 2 of Wano, Caribou did also agree to be the real Luffy's underling, and he asked for a ride home, wherever that is, on the Thousand Sunny, to which Luffy did agree. So look, there's a definite future for Caribou in the story, possibly even aboard the Thousand Sunny, but is he crewmate material? Look, I guess it's not as crazy as it sounds. And 321 people thought exactly that because they placed Caribou at the very top of their rankings. However, that is in stark contrast to the more than 20,000 who placed him in either 9th or dead last, so there. Floating curiously into 9th place now, we have the misfortune of seeing a picture of Caesar Clown. And personally, I think that Caribou does have a higher chance of actually joining the crew than Caesar, but 40,000 of you people disagree, so this is what we're going to go with. A grand total of 4 more human beings voted for Caesar in first place than voted for Caribou. But the real difference here comes from our last place finishes. Caribou took over a quarter of all 10th place votes, while Caesar didn't even reach 7,000 votes in this department. However, he is still pretty wildly disliked as an option though, as almost 60% of all Grand Fleet members threw him between 8th and last place. And in the end, I just can't see it. Luffy is actually quite friendly with Caribou now, but he hates Caesar. In fact, everyone hates Caesar. Even Drakeul Weehawk and Edward Meevil hate Caesar. And once you're in their bad books, there's just no coming back. But next up is a man who is also a harmful gas, and that is Smokey Boy. And this is a thought that I've honestly never been able to get on board with. In fact, this is now the second character in a row who I think is more outlandish than Caribou. But you've all had your say, and while Smoker very much dwells on the moist floor of the Straw Hat Steam Room in 8th to 9th place, his support is still sufficiently greater than that of Caribou and Caesar. Or maybe not support, but like lack of anti-support. And most of the reasoning behind Smoker for Straw Hat tends to be more about gap filling. The Straw Hats have yet to recruit some sort of Marine, their crew also doesn't have a Logia user, and they also don't have someone who has never won a fight in the series before. Even Usopp's win-loss ratio is more favorable than Smoker's, so he'll probably be some sort of decent ally, but crew joining material, there are better candidates. Statistically proven better candidates, mind you. One of which is our delightful 7th place finisher, Bon Clay. And I think we're starting to get into the realm of reasonable now. If Bon Clay had escaped from Impel Down and stuck with Luffy during the Paramount War, I have a very strong feeling that he would have been asked to join the Straw Hats. The biggest problem is that Luffy thinks that he's dead, and we cannot invite dead people to join the crew. Except for Brook, but I did specifically say dead people plural. We're allowed to have one. Bon Clay did pretty amazingly though, because of 40,000 votes, just over 1,000 people thought that he had the lowest chance of becoming a crew member. Also, he did get some pretty powerful support in the mid-range. Almost 11% of all voters put him in 4th place, which is, it's very wow. And the only reason why Bon Clay ranks so low with that in mind is because his 1st to 3rd support is sadly, just like his life in Luffy's mind, almost entirely non-existent. Which is a great transition into our 6th place finisher, who is quite literally non-existent because it is no one. So I thought this was a very important option to consider because as fun as talking about new Straw Hats can be, there's no guarantee that there will ever be one past Jinbei. And over a quarter of all voters heavily identify with this idea as they ranked the option of no one somewhere between 1st and 3rd place. And then in stark contrast, a 5th of all voters put no one in dead last. And in fact, the idea of no one got more last place finishers than Caesar Clown. So by and large, voters have a very strong opinion about this result. It's either incredibly plausible or it's not even worth considering. There is very little room for middle ground here, and no one is by far the biggest gaping chasm of results that we have between the upper and lower end of the scales. I should also say that the no one option got the 3rd highest amount of 1st place votes. So if this was a standard pick your one option thing kind of deal, then the idea of no one joining the crew would have secured 3rd place quite easily. However, I do think that 6 more accurately reflects what the fan base at large feel about the option. And in the end, it is a very existential question. Because if a character was to become a Straw Hat in the woods and nobody was around to see it, did they really join the crew? What is the answer to this question? And furthermore, would the concept of answers even exist if there were no questions? Back to things that exist now. I mean, not really. In fact, everyone on here is completely fictional. In fact, I think the idea of no one is probably the most realistic thing here. But in 5th place, we do find ourselves with a fictional Momonosuke. A fairly reasonable choice, I think, because the idea of another Kozuki clan member accompanying a pirate crew to Laugh Tale is, well, it's fairly believable. And that shows quite clearly in the tally here, as well over 50% of all voter things plonked Momoboy somewhere between 3rd and 6th place. Very much indicating to me that no, he is not the obvious favorite, but most people look at the option and go, yeah, you know what, I could probably see that. And this childlike enthusiasm will extend well into 4th place, where an enchanting kunoichi awaits us in the form of Tama, who oddly enough is one of the characters with the most convincing evidence behind her. So I've pointed this out elsewhere, but did you know that Tama is the only character to have worn the Straw Hat post-time skip? Other than Luffy, of course, and other than post-time skip Rock. But that's a pretty wild thought, especially since Oda generally quite carefully chooses what to do with this hat item, such as when Robin wore it during her first appearance, and look what happened, she became the thing that it is she put on her head. Then again, it can also be completely random, like when Sweet Pea wore it during Amazon Lily. Sweet Pea also happens to be a character who rather vigorously pulled on Luffy's mushroom, so yeah, Amazon Lily, it was a weird time for everyone. Back to Tama though, she does also have the desire to go out to sea, a voyage promised by Charlotte Katakuri's favorite character, Portgasty Donut, who is now no longer able to fulfill said promise. But you know, the inherited will of a certain brother might just spring into existence to make all of Tama's dreams come true. Big shout out to the Tama believers here though, because over 10% of all voters thought that she was the 2nd most likely to join the crew, and over 60% of people thought somewhere from 2nd to 5th would be appropriate. To the bronze medal now, and we encounter Nefertari Vivi. Strange, you may say, as she is already technically a crew member. And just to elaborate on that, this was an option presenting the idea that Vivi rejoins the crew after whatever events occur at the Reverie and on Wano. A sort of reuniting for the final saga kind of deal. And so far, this concept is looked upon pretty favorably, with some heavily skewed statistics comfortably solidifying Vivi within the top half of the votes and making her 3rd place seem quite reasonable. possible. Although I should also say it's quite conceivable that this option could work in addition to someone else joining the crew. There's nothing to stop the idea of, say, Luffy recruiting Caribou and then Vivi also coming back with her duck chum. So no matter who wins, I guess you could say that Vivi beat them to the punch, which works on many levels because she was also beaten by Luffy with a punch, because old One Piece was pretty brutal. But getting slightly more serious now, when clicking this video, there were probably two key possibilities within people's minds, and I can confirm that these two candidates, they pretty much comfortably dominated the votes, but in second place, it is Carrot, who has the honor of becoming the first character to blast through the 8-point average, which is interesting, very interesting, because someone giving Carrot an 8 is, well, it's very counterintuitive, as typically instead someone would have 8 a Carrot. But quite possibly Carrot's greatest of strength comes from the other end of the poll, because I can confirm that out of all 10 possibilities, Carrot received by far the lowest amount of last place votes, with only 473 people rather unceremoniously dumping the bunny in the bunny bin of 10th place. Quite fascinatingly though, Carrot's bulk of support comes in the form of exactly where she is in second place. Almost 38% of all voters looked at Carrot and went, yeah, look, rabbit stew is nice and all, but I'm hungry for something else at the moment, you know? And that something else is of course our incredible gold medalist Yamato. I say incredible because this is a definite first for any Grand Line Review poll, but Yamato absolutely obliterated these results with just over 65% of all people deciding that our spawn of Kaido is the most likely candidate to join the Straw Hats. So that is almost 26,000 people. And to put this into some perspective, the amount of people who put Carrot in first place was just under 6,000. 6,000 being not as big of a number as 26,000, in fact, several times smaller. I thought this poll would very much be a head-to-head battle between Carrot and Yamato, but as it turns out, Yamato has gone ahead and said Yamano to Carrot's chances of even being able to compete. So with an astounding average of 9.2, Yamato is undisputedly the Grand Fleet favorite to become the next Straw Hat. But FYI, our next poll is already up, and this time we will be ranking all current and past Marine Admirals, because there's more of them than you might think. So to have your say, go and click the link in the description and do the vote thing. And after that, go and click another video like this one here where just click it. I'm tongue-tied. So what is it that I say at the end of this? I look forward to seeing you there. Nailed it.